Josh had a pretty rough beginning just because he was pretty out of shape. Still getting over that injury from the ankle. So he was still pretty out of shape, so technique was lacking. I don't want to say the effort was lacking, but it looked like it was just because he was out of shape. And then the last week he's really stepped up, and you can see him getting back in football shape, and he's had a really good end of the spring, which I'm encouraged with.
What's your biggest concern with this unit going into the orange and white game and then going into the summer?
Biggest concern? Just, we're not real deep right now. We just had some guys on the shelf, and, my concern is just getting those guys back healthy, and so we have a full squad, keeping them all healthy Saturday and going into the summer full strength.
It seems like Marquez North has had a pretty good spring. Can you kind of talk about what you've seen from him this spring, even in that limited contact role that he's been in?
You know what? He's really stepped up. I see a different focus out of Marquez right now, and I know he wasn't able to do team activities, but he was out there doing individual drills and routes. Just his focus, his help, his attention to detail, helping the other guys. I haven't seen that out of him in the last 2 years. So he really tried to be a guy helping the young guys, really stayed involved. He graded other people's film. I mean, he was really into it, so I really was pleased with that.
Not that long ago, Coach Jones talked about, I guess it was a Saturday practice afterwards, and Nealon said you guys weren't as good winning on the perimeter in the red zone. What do you think about that, and how can you get that improved, do you think, with your guys?
I think spring is up and down. I think some days are good, some days are bad. Certainly we had a Saturday that wasn't what we wanted. There's a lot that goes into that. We're not completely full strength healthy-wise. Guys had some dead legs, not able to create that separation maybe that we wanted. So, we didn't have our entire red zone package in, and those are just some of the things that you got to look at when you go out of those scrimmages. But what we do look at to make sure we can fix is balls in the air, we got to complete passes. Things like that. Just the basics we got to do, and we did. The other day we had a great red zone. We scored, I think, 5 out of 8 touchdowns on Tuesday, so we had a great day in the red zone passing the ball. So, up and down, we just got to be more consistent. And when we get everyone back in the fall, hopefully we can keep that consistency going.
Even though he's not a true wide receiver, what do you think of Ethan Wolf in the passing game?
He's a threat, with his size, his versatility. He can block the edge, but also get out in the perimeter. He's 6'6". He creates mismatches. So, no, he's really created a whole nother element for us in that personnel grouping.
It's been some of one of the biggest surprises, or some of the guys, what guy you think have stood up this spring so far?
I thought Pig Howard had a great spring all the way around. I think I can point to one day, maybe a day and a half, to where he wasn't himself, kind of dropped some passes when he got dinged up a little bit. But he's really stepped up. He had a really good spring on the field, so really pleased with him. Like I said, Josh Smith really had a good last week. I'm pleased with that. Jonathan Johnson was clearly the most consistent, took the most reps. He was my best overall wide receiver in the spring. If I had to rank them as who had the best springs, him and Pig.
How pivotal is it for Pig to have that leader on the team this year in the fall?
Very pivotal. I mean, he's got to be that guy. Pig's never going to be a vocal guy. He's a quiet kid, but he lets his play speak for himself, and he goes out there and plays. And when you press play, you can see how hard he plays. That does a lot for the other guys watching him play.
With Josh Smith, was it just kind of knocking off the rust or getting healthier? What
just shape. He was not in football shape. That's what it was. So there's a lot of rust to knock off there, and he just wasn't in football shape, and that takes a while, especially on the perimeter when you're taking every other snap. That's tough. So last week I was pleased with his development.
Any update on Preston Williams, just how his knee's doing and all the rehab, and you expecting him to get much work in this summer?
You know what? Yeah, he'll be here this summer just with all the other freshmen ready to roll, and we'll see what he can do. I don't think he's full strength yet. 2-a-days comes, we'll see what happens. Whatever the doctors tell me I can do, but if he can go, he's going. So.
How much do you communicate with your signees from this past year here in this period?
Yeah, once or twice a week, we're making sure that they're on track, graduation-wise, school-wise. They all think they're working out and running hard, but they have no idea until they get here, so that's why the summers are so pivotal. So they'll be here soon, so I'm excited.
It's good to gauge the entire receiving corps for the spring now that you're at the end of it. What kind of grade would you give them for the spring?
Wow, put me on the spot right there, huh? You know what? It's hard to say. We had some ups and downs. I thought we were average this spring. I didn't think we had a tremendous spring, but there's a lot of things that point to why. Just the depth was hard. Those guys, their effort, their consistency coming out there, they grinded. I mean, there was times where, we took a lot of reps, and so hopefully we can get their legs back here. But it was an average spring. for us. I don't think we were exceptional, but I don't think we were off. I think we were right in the middle. And I'm not worried. You know, we have a good summer coming up. Get these guys back healthy, get some more legs, and we'll be all right.
Specifically, how do you think Josh Malone did this spring?
You know, he was up and down. You know, had some really good days. I can see little things getting better on Josh, and then other days not so good. But him and a lot of guys were like that, not just Josh. So up and down. I think, you know, consistency with his hands, catching the ball in traffic. Those are the things I want to see more out of him. But he's, you know, he's had a great attitude. He's working hard at it. So he was up and down this spring. Not where I want him to be yet. So we got a summer to grind him.
In a perfect world, with everybody coming back healthy, day one of fall camp, just how good of an idea do you have of what you're working with day one?
Well, when I get Marquez back and Jason back, knowing what Preston will be able to do, I'll have a pretty good idea. When I get Marquez and Jason back, I'll know exactly, because it's the same lineup pretty much as last year. So I'll know exactly what I got. Now now you add these freshmen coming in, and now we're excited. We'll see what happens.
Coach Jones said something about possibly getting to the point where you could play 10 or 12 wide receivers. Yeah. I mean, is that realistic?
It is if we have 12 on scholarship, but we don't right now. So we need to get 12 before we can play 12, and I think that's what he meant. But, you know, I've always said I want to play 8 or 9, and if we could get to the point where we played 10 or 12, a lot of up-tempo schools do that. We don't have the numbers to do that right now, which is why I think we saw a little drop-off this spring. We had 6 guys out there. That's half of what we want to play. They're taking every other rep, and that's tough. So, yeah, I would love to get to that point, because now you're putting your best players out there in their best form. You know, they can play their fastest, their quick twitch, all that, you know, will be used, and then you can pull them out, put another guy in, and just keep going. And they play their best ball like that.
Josh Smith's a guy that had kind of a rough freshman year. Have you seen him working with Josh Malone at all, trying to, you know, give him some advice, some leadership there, since he's been through that?
You know what, I haven't, but that doesn't mean he hasn't talked to him about that. I haven't heard the conversation, but I'm sure, you know, they all talk about that stuff. But Smith is just, he was so worried about getting over that injury and getting his stuff going this winter. I think he was just focused on himself. And I'm sure they've talked about that at some point.
How healthy is he now? Is he 100%?
Josh
Smith coming off that injury?
You know, I don't think he's 100%, but he's getting there. Yeah, he's still, you know, you can tell at times it bothers him, but the doctors and everyone says he should be absolutely 100% by camp, so it's good.
What does he have to do to kind of build off this last week he's had and keep it going, you know, towards summer and the fall?
Get healthy, keep it going, you know, just don't take time off, just keep grinding and be consistent. You take time off and then all of a sudden you get back in that. Josh has a lot of technique issues that he needs to work on, and when he gets out of shape, it all goes downhill, so he needs to stay in shape, so he can work that technique.
What are some of those technique issues that he's been dealing
Just route running, you know, body position, you know, normal things wideouts go through. He's always struggled with that a little bit, cutting off the right feet, things like that. So he needs to work on that, and the only way he can do that is by being in shape.
Thank you, Coach.
You're welcome.
Sorry if you've already been asked. I know it's been a tough spring for your guys, kind of